Hey there, everyone. Um, One last update before I actually release the software this coming weekend. I do have a couple of little things to take care of, but my plan is to release the software either Saturday night or very early Sunday morning. Like I said, this weekend. Um, so it's been a while since the last update, and this isn't so much of a progress update, but I just want to kind of show some new features before the software is actually released. All right, so um, it's been in the hands of, I think there's about 14 people on the forum um, for about a month now, and there's been a lot of reported crashes and issues, and I believe I've turned around and fixed those rather quickly. So I'm not going to go through all the items that I fixed or tweaked or what have you regarding this pre-release build. That's not going to mean anything to anybody. But I'm certainly going to go into some of the new features that I haven't demonstrated before. Okay, so why don't I just go ahead and do that now? Um, right, so uh, one of them is when you start the application, it remembers what platform you were on, what theme and what views you were in. So I'm in platforms, the platform I've currently selected, the view that I was on, and if you were viewing it by all games and there was a particular game that you had selected, it would actually remember that particular game for that particular platform, for that view, for that theme. Even if there are multiple instances of that game, it will still know which game, which platform to go to. All right, so settings are now remembered. So upon exit, it's remembered the settings. Next time you start the app, it will go back into exactly where you left off. So that's one. Now, this is where it's going to get rather interesting. So I've created a theme here called Theme Components, and this is where I can play around, create some UI elements, for example, and then if I wish to use those elements in other themes, I can just simply go in here, copy, and then pick the target theme that I wish to paste it into. So if you weren't aware, you can actually copy elements across themes. So I have one here that's actually, let's see, this is below, yes. So this is actually what I'm calling like a glass effect. And let me just put this element back. And it's all XAML or UI elements. There's no images here. I just wanted to see if I could create a glass effect with glare in 100% with 100% made up of UI elements. So that's what I've done. So I can just simply click on this, copy, and I can jump to one of my test themes, this Netflix Style 2. And I'll go into, it doesn't really matter which one, platform or game. Now I already have this element pasted here, but I'll just show you how easy it is. So for example, if I scroll down right here, glass surface, I'm going to delete. There's a lot of UI elements. Okay. And I'm going to paste that glass surface series of UI elements from the theme components theme. Okay, and as you can see, it's placed it there, and I just go to the top level parent glass surface and hit fill parent. And I've obviously introduced something in this version. Go figure. I've introduced something here. Okay. Yep. I should have had that set to full screen. Or I was using that as a backdrop actually, because that screen is just way too dark. So I think what I was trying to do here was put something dark underneath the glass so you can see the glare. So it was just for test. So I've removed that. So that's what you can do. You can create a theme dedicated to just little components that you may use for another theme that you're going to work on. And you can just simply go to that theme components theme and copy whatever you need and paste them into your brand new theme, and then obviously tweak them. Or if you're happy with the way it is, you just use it. So this is nothing new as far as the editor is concerned. I just wanted to make it absolutely clear that you can copy elements across themes. Now, some of the enhancements I've made in regards to some of the new features in Big Box, for example. Okay, so if you're running the latest and greatest official release of Big Box, you'll see where you can take advantage of this. All right, so let's enable, actually, if I back out of the editor, it'll be easier to demonstrate this through the preview here. And let me go into a game view. All right, so after a few seconds, it stretches. The video area is now displayed. One of the things that it will do is when a video is not visible, okay, so it's either if it's collapsed or you've set the opacity to 0, the video will not play. But the minute, so if you're animating the opacity, for example, let's say you're fading the video in, as soon as that video starts fading in and the opacity is greater than 0, it will start playing the video. That way, you've got some control over when you actually want to play that video now. Because it's just a question of, do I make it visible or do I play with the opacity to make it visible, which will then engage the video to be played. So that's one little tweak that I've made. And you'll see that as I scroll through the list of games, and then once I actually settle on one, this is probably not the one I want, then it starts to play. Once it's visible, it starts to play. Instead of you hear the audio in the background and the video isn't displayed yet, now you can time it. So that's one little tweak. But talking about the latest enhancements to Big Box, and there were 2 releases that I took advantage of here. Now I have these arrows up and down to indicate that, you know, you scroll through the list up and down. But I wanted the arrows to highlight when I actually pressed up or pressed down. And to simulate that within the editor, I had to come up with a different approach. And I expect to fully utilize this more in future builds of this software. But as you can see here, there is a gamepad. Okay, it looks like a SNES controller. And as the tooltip says, double click. So you double click, and the gamepad pops out. And what you can do here, this is a text list view, so you can only go up and down. And as you can see, as I hover over the up and down buttons, they highlight. So if I press it, if I press up, you'll see that the up arrow image on the screen is highlighted blue, and now the down. Okay, so let's take a look at those by switching off the animation. All animations disabled. Okay, so what I've got here is this vertical bar, and within the vertical bar I've defined the arrows and this A and B button and a hand, and I'll show you the hand in a little bit. But if I click on the up arrow here, we have some conditions. If I click that, and we have this color tint. So it's an image, and I'm changing the color of the image. By default, it's white, but I have some conditions. So what I've said here is, make it this light blue color when the navigation direction is U for up. Okay, so as you can see, I've got center, down, left, right, and up. Okay. Now, obviously, the only controls allowed within this view is really up and down. So that's why when I was clicking up and down, you'll see in the up and down arrows being highlighted. Okay, so I thought that was kind of cool. Now obviously in other views, if you're leveraging left, right, and up and down, then if you want, you could have a controller that would actually move in each direction, or if you just showed 4 arrows, the arrows would highlight in their respective direction. And that's all well and good. All right. So I've kind of changed this up a little bit, and I've made this frame, if you will. There's a number of different animations attached to this now. So let's see, frame 3, during selection. So while I'm making a selection to a game, I want it to, fade certain things in and all this kind of good stuff. All right. Once selected, I want to fade, certain information in. Immediately, I want certain information to fade in. Now, this is a rather interesting set of new animation triggers here. Entered game detail and exited game detail. So what I've got going on here is when I am going into game detail, I'm basically bringing back this entire panel from invisibility back to something that's now visible. Okay, and then when you're exiting game detail, it's the opposite. So it's making it transparent or making it invisible. Okay, so these are 2 new animation triggers that were only possible with the latest release or the latest official release of Big Box. Okay, and I'll show you how this works within the theme itself, because there's a couple of other things that I wish to just show you up and running within the theme, outside of the theme creator. All right, so I actually have changed the animation editor, not drastically, but I noticed there were a couple of things that I wanted to do on here. So you've noticed this, may have noticed this hand. Okay, and with this hand I've got a series of animations. So the immediately one, that just places the hand off screen, basically where it is, but just off screen, vertically off screen. And then on a loop, it's every 40 seconds or so. So this just sets the initial position. And then after about 40 seconds, the hand will move in towards and hover over button A. and then some audio will kick off, and then the hand will disappear off screen again, and then reappear and hover over button B and kick off another audio file. All right. Well, from here, audio, you've always been able to kick off audio, but you were never able to kind of test it through here. You didn't know how long the audio file, the audio playback, you didn't know how long it was. So you would have to kind of step outside the editor and maybe File Explorer and Windows Media Player to see how long it was, but that won't even give you the exact length. It's it's rounded up. So this would have, Windows Media Player would have told me this is 2 seconds long, and that's not, obviously, as you can see here, that's not true. Okay. So if I click on the first audio clip, press A, I can now test it through here. And then click on the next audio clip. Okay. And I can adjust now the length of the duration to play these audio files. So for example, if I went in and I said, I want to play that audio file for 12 seconds, it'll say, hey, you can't exceed the length of the audio file. All right. So I know that it will allow me 1.98. Okay. So that's good. And that's 2 point and change. So I'll just leave it at 2 seconds. All right. Now, the reason I did this, obviously it's always good to be able to kind of play this stuff back so that you don't have to step out of the editor and double click on a WAV file just to see, what it sounds like and how long it plays for. But I noticed that if you inadvertently set the playback time for an audio file within the animation editor, so for example, one of these plays for 2 seconds. If you set it for 12, and I've got that whole sequence on a loop, it will never loop. It will play the sequence once, and it will never restart. So it's imperative that you don't instruct an audio clip to play longer than it physically can. All right, so it was I needed to add some validation in there, and the only way I could add validation in there to prevent you from saying 12 seconds versus a 2 second file was to actually retrieve the playback length, and then I've got something to validate against. And then if I'm doing that and I'm already reading the file, I might as well have a play/stop button available so that you can preview the file. Okay, so that's where that all came about, and I think it's very, very useful. Now, whether or not you use sound clips like this in your themes, well, that's entirely up to you. Me, this is just a test theme. I'm playing around, and I'm glad I did, because it made me tweak how the code is built as well for storyboarding or animations, and well, you'll see in a minute. All right, so we've got 2 sound bites here. I'm going to hit save. I don't know why I didn't do anything. And then we'll go to the system options view. And it's real bare bones, but at least it's got the same look and feel as the text list or text filter view for platforms and the games text list. Now what I've got here, just to add a little bit of something to this boring view, was I have this grid, and I have Shao Kahn in this grid, and I have a series of animations on a loop. So sure enough, I basically hide Shao Kahn off the bottom of the screen, okay, vertically. And then just before a minute, I move him in. And then we have a sound bite. and then we move him off. And then at just before the 2-minute mark, I move him in, I play a sound clip. Okay. And I've already discovered the bug. Audio length shouldn't be displayed for non-audio related stuff. Okay, well, just ignore that. That's easy enough to remove. Okay, so anyway, I've got 5 sound clips, so he'll pop in 5 times. Pop in, say something, pop out. All right? So it just adds a little bit of, you know, spice to this, what would be ordinarily a very boring view. And I'm just going to go ahead and publish, because I can't remember what version I've currently have published for Big Box. There's only 3 views. All right, so we'll run Big Box. It is warm here. All right. So we'll go to, I'm not going to go through all 5 sound clips for this, but you'll get the general idea after the first one kicks off. Like I said, it's a boring view. You really can't see anything on here, do anything other than just, you know, go through the options. But I just thought it would be a little bit of fun. And in doing so, again, I discovered issues with how I was generating the code to support animations in conjunction with audio, and it wasn't working properly. So I had to restructure how that code is built, how that XAML code is built, and I'm very, very happy with the result with that particular tweak. It took me a few hours to do, but it was well worth it, and it's exactly how I would expect it to operate. All right. Okay, so that was the first of 5. All right, so we're going to exit this view. And there really isn't much to see on the platform one, really. I mean, it's just the video stretches, the video starts to play, so on and so forth. You know, you can select up and down through the list. I mean, there's an awful lot going on. If there's a cabinet, an arcade cabinet to be displayed, it will show that. Okay. Like I was saying, okay, in the game view, if there's an arcade cabinet to be displayed, it will show that instead of a attempt to show the box art and the media. Now, this is only possible with this version of the theme creator with the latest version of Big Box, and it's this. All right, so as I scroll up and down through the list, as you can see, the up and down arrows are highlighting in blue as I'm, well, in this case I'm using my keyboard to navigate up and down. Okay, so at least it's showing me which way I'm, even though I can visually see which way I'm going, but it's giving you another visual cue as to the direction, or the key I'm hitting, if you will. All right, I'm going up and down. Now watch this. If I select it, I'm now in the, excuse me, I'm now in the game, we call this the game details panel, okay? And now I had all these animations going on that if you don't touch anything, that third panel on the right basically disappears because the game box and media fades out and reveals the game video. Okay, so you end up with 2 panels instead of the 2 frames instead of the 3 frames that you see right now, okay? But as you can see, that animation is not running at the moment while I'm in game details. As soon as I hit escape, or button B to back out, and we go back to the game list, if I give it a second, the animation kicks back off again, and we're back down to 2 frames. And I can press enter from here. I don't have to be back in the the list of games, I can just press enter, and that will then expand the list and reveal the game options for Jet Grind Radio in this example, and it will just stay there indefinitely. All right. So, like I said, this was only possible to do with this version of the theme creator, coupled with the enhancements that they made to Big Box, so that you can do stuff like this. And there's our A and B audio clips with the animated hand. And that only happens with 40 seconds of inactivity. So for example, if I'm back to the game list and I'm just scrolling up and down and I just land on a game and I see a bit of the video and then I scroll up and down for another game and do the same thing, every time I do that, it's internally resetting a clock. Okay, it's like resetting a stopwatch back to 0, and then it ticks forward to 40 seconds, which will then kick off the animated hand and the audio clips. All right, so again, not necessarily something that you would be looking to do in your own theme, but it's a bit of fun, it's a bit of, you know, interactivity, and it just adds a little bit more life to, you know, your themes. And there you go. 40 seconds had elapsed since I had landed on this game without touching the keyboard to make another selection. So there's some really cool stuff in here that really, you know, makes your theme operate, you know, like a true menu system now. You know, and if you don't believe me, you can try out your existing themes right now that leverage the game details panel, and you tell me if it disappears or doesn't stay on the screen indefinitely and all this kind of good stuff. All right, so I was very happy to see this enhancement put into Big Box that I could then leverage. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Covered audio, improved animation system incorporating both animation and audio clips, new animation triggers and conditioning triggers that we can leverage for direction and animations, and better handling of when we go into game details and when we exit game details. So now we've got complete control over that. So let's come out of Big Box. We will go back into the Community Theme Creator, and I just want to show you a couple of enhancements that I worked on this prior weekend. I haven't even shared this with the guys on the forum that are really kind of testing out a pre-release. Hopefully I can send them a build Friday, or at least before I send it out to the masses. Let's see, what's the best way of doing this? I'm going to create a new thing. Demo purposes. All right. Let's see. I'm going to put it in game, and I'm going to go back to. I won't go anywhere just yet. Let's see. Let's just move this down here. I'm going to add a text field, and it's going to be a binding value, so metadata, and I'm going to link it to what do I want? I could have game name, but let's have game platform. Okay, and this is super small font. Let's change the font to, I don't know, 28. That's good enough. And then I'm going to have it set to auto size, so it will grow and shrink as need be. I'm going to add one more. I'm going to copy this one and then basically change the metadata value to the game name. So I'll just scroll up to game. Okay, Bob. All right, cool. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down to my theme components. And I have 3 boxes here, or 3 frames. One is for foreground, one is for background, and one is for the effect color, the shadow color. So I left click on the first one, and this is for foreground, and I've got conditions. I left click on that one, and sure enough, we have conditions for the foreground. Now you're familiar with this. You can set up different colors based on, you know, whatever metadata field you want. And as you can see, we've got various colors based on platform, okay? Ignore this bar for now. I'm just going to copy the items, all right? So I've hit copy. And now I'm going to go into this, what was it, demo? I forgot what I called it. For demo purposes. Test. I'm losing my mind. Doesn't help that I'm as blind as a bat. There you go. Theme for demo purposes. Crazy. So I want to alter the foreground color based on the platform name. Okay, and this is very easy to do. We've done this a few times now. So if I go into foreground and hit conditions and simply hit paste items, because it knows I've got some copy paste data in memory. So I hit paste, and there you go. We have all this. But here's the kicker. I have this profile, and what I can do here, I can say, I give it a name. Let me go back. I don't have any profiles to select from, so I'm going to click one to say I want a new one, and I'm going to call this solid foreground colors per platform. Okay, I hit OK, and then I hit OK, and sure enough, it's using that list of conditions to condition the color of the text. But now if I click on this one and hit conditions, I have a profile called solid foreground colors per platform. I click it, I click OK, and the two are now linked by a profile. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this. Actually, I'm going to copy this multiple times. Okay. Just to show how many can be linked and it's not an issue. All right. And the same with platform. There you go. I hit paste in place, so it put it, and it doesn't matter where I put these things. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to copy this one to a platform view. I think you're going to like this, especially if you change visibility conditions or color conditions based on a platform, or any condition for that matter, or metadata field for that matter. All right, so we've got Nintendo, 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 blah, blah, blah. It must be noted that one of the changes, or one of the fixes I had made, was I copied this UI element from a game view, and that metadata field was called game platform. It recognized the fact that when I copied this UI element into a platform view, that metadata field does not exist. And it knew that there was an alternate version for platform views that it should leverage. So it landed on platform name. The same is true for all the color conditions. Okay? Those color conditions were all based on game platform name. All right? So if I were to look at the conditions, they too have all switched over to platform name. If I were to look at this UI element on the game view, that would say game platform. All right? But they mean the same thing, just two different ways of coming at it. Now, here's the cool thing. Well, as you can see, all of those share the same color. And all of these share the same color. Now let's pick a different platform. That's a gray. Let's pick PlayStation 2. That should be blue, I believe. There you go. All right. So far, this is not impressing anybody. You've seen this before. All right. You've got a condition list that you could easily copy to multiple UI elements. But here's the thing. All these UI elements all share the same common thing, and that is a color profile or a conditioning profile. And I created that profile in this games view. Well, I'm now going to go into the platform view and edit. All right, so I can pick on any one of these conditions. It doesn't matter. They all point to this profile. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll down to PlayStation 2. It's probably down here. And I don't like that blue. Maybe it's too light. It should be darker. I don't know. All right. But in this case, just for example, just to make it pop and to prove a point, I'm going to change it to a linear gradient, just so it looks different. Okay. So here's a linear gradient now. That's the only one in this list. I hit OK. All of them have changed. Okay? Because all of these UI elements are sharing the same color profile. So you don't have to remember now, oh, I have to copy and paste the color conditions to this element, this element, this element, this rectangle, this frame, this. No. No, it goes one step further than that. It's across all views within that theme. So all of these UI elements shared, or they're linked to that same color profile. So now that I've got those conditions and I can maintain them, I can add to them, I can add more platforms on there with additional colors, I can make them gradients if I wanted to, it will immediately alter those UI elements. They will react to those changes because they are all pointing to the same profile. All right. Theme wide. It's only within the selected theme. Okay. Now, if for whatever reason you want a UI element to no longer use a profile, a condition profile, that's okay. You click on that UI element, you hit conditions, you simply select a blank profile, and I could say PlayStation 2 is now a solid color just for this condition, just for this UI element. And when I hit OK, we have conditions, but they're completely separate now for this UI element. Everything else is still linked by profile. All right. So like I said, if you design it in a way that your elements are all linked to a particular color profile or a visibility profile, and across all your different views, you can always go in after the fact and maintain that list of conditions for visibility and colors, or colors, and it will immediately be reflected with all UI elements pointing to that profile. So I thought this was kind of cool. All right, So that's color profile, and I think it's pretty easy to use, pretty easy to engage, disengaged, maintain, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now here's another good one that Farron came up with just the other day. So we'll go back to, I mean, I could do it on any, actually this is as good as any, to be honest. So we have our text list view, all right, and we have our styling. Now, what's new is I've added properties for a selected item, the foreground color, the background color, and an effect color. And I've added a new style preset 08. Okay. And let's see. And I don't want that font really. I always like it centered. Let's make the font just okay. That's cool. All right. So we want to add conditions, or Farron wanted to add conditions to say, you know, the background, the selected item, I want the background to change based on the name of the platform. All right. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we'll go into conditions, and I've got solid foreground colors per platform, and I can use that. That's fine. But let's assign it to solid background colors per platform. So then we've got two profiles that we can essentially play around with and make them independent. So for example, the background color may be one color, but the foreground color could be a contrast color to the background instead of always white, because sometimes white on a very light blue, then you can't read it. So maybe you want, I don't know, maybe a dark blue on a light blue background, for example. And you want to do that by platform. So at least by having two different color profiles, you could do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply say, I'm going to cheat. So I'm going to copy the name and not rename. I'm going to click new. And then I'm going to change this to say solid background colors per platform and hit OK. All right. And hit OK. And it immediately took that information and passed it into the selected item background. Now, I don't want a gradient in the background. I mean, obviously, it supports it, but I don't want it. So I'm going to change this to solid and then hit OK, which will update the color profile. Now it's solid. Okay. I'm going to save. So what we've got here is white foreground for the selected item, blue background for the selected item, and let's go to different systems. So Sega Game Gear, it's that Nintendo Wii U, what we got? A lighter blue, what color is that one? It's another shade of blue. GameCube, is that going to be like a purple? Yep. And then NES, is that red? Yep. Now you notice there's a slight delay there, and we can fix that by clicking on the wheel. Update when, I'm going to say during selection. So I want it lightning fast. I want it to reach out and understand what the platform name is so it can decide what color to be. So as you can see, when I do this now, there's no more delay. Like, it doesn't go black and then to that color. It will go from whatever color it was to whatever the new color is. All right, so I can go back to that. See, perfect. And even when you publish the theme, there is no lag. Okay. Neo Geo, I don't know if there is anything for that. Again, NES, and then what? SNES. It's probably the same red or slightly orangey red. So this was something I implemented a couple of days ago. Just kind of wrapped it up today by allowing a new preset, a new style preset. So at least you guys can get to see how that works. Obviously, you can browse the style, copy the code. So for example, I'll show you just in case you weren't aware of how this works. I click on the wheel. You know, maybe you like the basic attributes of the wheel, but you want to change it up a little bit, and that's totally fine. So we have preset 8, which will utilize at least these two, okay? And then you hit browse, because you can't edit. You copy, come out, and then you can say new. So you could say custom preset 08. Okay. Paste. And then do whatever tweaking you want to do. And there's the two magic values being passed into the style. Just like everything else, we got full color, opacity, font weight, font style, all this kind of good stuff. I'm following the same path here. All right. That way you don't really have to remember how to bind, or you don't have to learn XAML in order to understand how you can grab all these binding values or properties. This takes all the heartache and headaches out of that. All right. So yeah, I mean, if you're somewhat familiar with XAML or enough to browse somebody else's style, copy, and then paste into here and come up with a new variant, there you go. All right. So at least you've got a preset that you can refer to. So anyway, that was my last minute gift to Farron, as he's as busy converting colorful, the colorful theme that Viking had put together. He's converting it over to the community theme creator, which I think is quite cool. I believe that's it. There's an awful lot going on. There's a lot of fixes I've made, a lot of enhancements and tweaks and whatnot, but these are the standout ones, I think, the notable ones that you haven't seen and I've recently added since the last progress update video that I put out, which was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Okay, so I hope you like this. I hope you leverage some of these. I really do think, you know, if you are changing colors based on platform or based on any other kind of condition, you really should look at leveraging using a profile. It will save you a lot of time in the future instead of copying and pasting to multiple elements across multiple views within the same theme. All right, so you know, you may not do it straight away, but once you catch yourself doing copy paste, then you'll be like, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm going to set up a profile and apply it to all these so I don't have to do this exercise all over again. Again, with the gamepad, it's got limited usage at the moment. It's really just, you know, when I clicked up and down, you can see what effect it's having on anything that leverages a condition of up and down navigation. But the functionality will grow with this, that you can test your wheels, so you can test your selection. So the idea is if I click down on here, you'll see this selection go down, and as it's going over a different game, it will respond and pull in assets for that game while you're actually in the editor. The same is true with other wheel types. I really want to try and get the wheel preview in so you actually get to see for real what Big Box, you will see a preview of the actual wheel that you would typically see within Big Box And again, in order to control that wheel, you need something. So hence the need for a virtual gamepad, and you'll be able to scroll left and right through this preview wheel using your virtual gamepad, and then click on a game, exit a game, you know, this kind of thing, just to kind of simulate the whole experience while in the editor. All right. So that's my thought process behind this. Like I said, it's not fully fledged, but I didn't want to forget about it, and I commit myself to actually designing the gamepad and incorporating it into the editor. So now I won't forget. I just need to elaborate on the functionality in future releases. All right, so I'm done. I can't think of anything else that I've added since the last video. I think this is kind of good enough. And like I said, I plan to release this software this weekend, barring no catastrophic issues. Like I said, I've got 1 or 2 little tweaks to make, 1 bug to hunt down, and I plan to do that Friday. So no excuses. I should be able to release Saturday at some point. All right. So again, you know, thanks for watching the video. I hope you like what you see. I hope you're already thinking of how you can leverage some of these new enhancements for new themes once you get this software in your hands. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I really can't. So until then, take care, everyone, and you know, feel free to give me some feedback when I release my software this weekend. All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.